questions to ask throughout a campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on even deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch along, still the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South, they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Yes, guys, we are back. This is TACT-EAGLE, and this is for our TACT-EAGLE episode for our match coming up against Brentford away. I'm joined here with my usual co-host, Dan. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm all good. All good. Well, at least I was until I started researching this game. But before that, yeah, I was very good. How are you?
Yeah, I was looking into this game and I'm thinking, playing against Brentford, it's going to be a hard game, but, I'm thinking we could get a point out of it. But then that stat that you told me just before we went live just really killed my mood completely. But yeah, we're gonna dive into it. I think the best place to start is, who do we predict to start today, and how do we predict for those guys to start?
So go first.
I'll head it up first. So here is how I believe that both teams will set up. Let me just show it now. So yeah, here is how I believe both teams will set up. I believe that R1 comes with a bit of a caveat. I think Vieira will try and do a double pivot again with Decore and Hughes and play maybe Elise in the 10, Eze out wide, Ayew out wide, something like that. Maybe even Mateta up front. You never know, just for the bunts. But this is what I think we should do. With a 4-3-3, with a flat 3, with a 1 DM and a 2 8s, because I think that it worked very well last season. I don't see the reason to change it, because I know now we have a fit Eze, but I think that we need to see that his off-the-ball work isn't up to par compared to the rest of our midfielders. So, for example, I'd probably rather play Ayew in the midfield than Eze right now, just purely because of his off-the-ball work. But I think that having the 2 8s in the midfield would be a lot better, because we saw a lot of success with it last season with Conor Gallagher and Maka and Hughes and Kouyaté, depending on who that guy in the DM was, because we would actually be able to hold the midfield down, not have to shoehorn a player in, if that makes sense. I feel like we're sort of shoehorning Eze into our team right now, but because he's a little bit out of form, I think that this is probably the perfect time to go back to that old style, because with this Hughes can easily help out Elise over here, Decore can push up, and we're still in a very sustainable formation here, and we're still supporting the wings very well. With Ayew out on the left, because I thought he actually played pretty well on the left against Brighton. I think that he did a lot of good dribbling, helped out Mitchell a lot when it came to defending against March, apart from that one incident, obviously. But I think that he was doing well. He was dribbling, he was cutting inside, going down to the byline, getting crosses in. Elise, I don't know what Vieira sees in him playing him in the 10, because it just doesn't work, in my opinion. And I think that if any game was as good a game as ever to show that Edouard is the starting striker in this team, that Brighton game was the game to show that Mateta ain't that guy. So I think Edouard needs to start. Coming over to the Brentford team, they start and they play many different kinds of formations, but this seems to be the go-to when it comes to Brentford. It's a 3-5-2. But it never really plays like a 3-5-2. It plays more of like a 3-3-4 or like a. So these guys will come up. Norgard will come up, and if the ball's over here, Norgard will follow the ball over this side. The ball's over here, Norgard will follow the ball this side. So it's sort of like a 3-2-1-4. So when they're in possession, it's a very scary team, because they do like to break with pace, very direct passing, and Wembu's got the wraps. He's rapid. and Tony's very good in the air. So it's that big man, little man combo, which just seems to do very well in football in general. And this is how I believe they'll line up. I think the only one that is a maybe is Janelt, maybe De Silva here. And for Hickey, they do like to play Roslev, I think his name is.
Yeah, Roslev, yeah.
And he's a very good attacking fullback as well. This is how I believe we'll set up. What do you think, Dan?
I thought so. Wait, how do I just do it like this? Right. Is that working?
And then you can show it.
Wait, is it showing now?
No, you need to go into the thing itself.
Add to stream. Nice.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm new to the back thing.
We've just given him the power, so he's just learning.
Yeah. I'm used to doing it just sharing the screen. Right. So it's there. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So right. So I pretty much agree with JC in terms of how we'll play. Sorry, let me just finish this. God, I should have done this before, but never mind. Again, I agree. I think this is how we should play with the players that we've got. I think the problem is that Eze, I think this might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but I think Eze is a bit of a double-edged sword, because I think Eze is very good in a 10 role, but the players that we have don't support the system of a double pivot. Now, I was talking to a guy called Pablo on Twitter, and I thought he made a very good point. Say, just for argument's sake, say we do play a double pivot, right? Unless you have very good attacking fullbacks that are going to support the attack, that's not going to work. Because let's take those back for a sec. I know that Lokonga wouldn't play here. Just for a second, I'll change it to Eze. Are you really going to do that much damage to a team when you've only got 4 players up here and then maybe like 2 kind of deeper midfielders supporting? That's never going to work because you just don't have enough options. So yeah, so in terms of how Palace play, I think this is the best shout we've got, because, and I've said this so many times, I sound like a broken record. I'm very sure people on Twitter must think I'm an absolute nut job because I keep saying it so much. But when we had Maka where Lokonga is, CK here and CG here, that was brilliant because Maka and Gallagher were both very good defensively and in attack.
And they would also support the wings a lot. Exactly.
Like when the ball was actually, where is I need to find the ball. There we go. There's the ball. So like say we had the ball over here. Say this is just for a second, let's say it's a CG, right? We have our players over here, blah blah blah. I know that these aren't the right players, but just a second. So their players will be here, let's say, for example. CG would link that wing, like he would be here to then pass it to Elise. But then the good thing that CG would do, he wouldn't stop there. He would then make that overlapping run in that half space, like I've just shown there. And Elise has that option, or their player will back off a little bit to the point where Elise is then able to make that run down there. That is what CG did on the right-hand side of midfield. That was so good. And Maka did exactly the same on the other side. And I think it's no coincidence that when Maka got injured, we went through that period around Christmas where we stopped playing very well.
Yeah, with that supporting run through the half space that you were showing, it also had, I think Edouard scored a couple goals because of that as well. Gallagher would take the centre back away and leave no one standing in front of Edouard. So if you put a good ball into feet, he's got a free shot on goal there. Exactly.
Like, just say for a minute, Hughes is CG, right? So Elise's here. I don't know. Henry's gone to go meet him. This is over here somewhere. They're all here. Bentley's in the middle. Pinnock's here. I'm not saying that Brentford would necessarily react like this, but other teams would. So CG will have the ball here. CG actually had, if not the most, one of the most crosses per 90 of the whole team, believe it or not, last season. And I think that's because he used to get in these positions a lot. Where's that ball gone? He's over there. That's where he would be now. That's Mateta. Yeah, and then like you say, they'll draw the defender in, and then Edouard's got all this space over here to just try and get a foot on it and try and get it in. And that's what we lack this season, I think. I posted something from The Athletic about our passing maps when we play in this 4-3-3, and we just don't have that anymore. For whatever reason, these midfielders, like these eights, just don't link at all. Don't link with these, don't link with that, don't link with nothing. So that's why I think we've been a bit crap this season. And I've got some stats in a minute, which I was thinking of playing a little game with. I'll see if you can. I was going to basically say a stat, and you got to guess who it is. Just I think it'll be a bit interesting.
Yeah, I think with what I was trying to say is slightly different to what you just described, but that definitely works well. Let me show my screen really quickly. Right. This is sort of more of what I was saying. Yeah. So let's say Hughes is CG. He'd make that run, pull the centre back away, and then that ball straight in from Elise there.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So he'd come in here, and Edouard's already in on goal. He's right side of the defender here.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the angle that I was coming at, because from here, I think that Klein or Wardy would come inside here. And as we've been saying, or as you said the last couple of weeks, that to be effective on the wings, you need to make triangles. It doesn't work with just two people on the wing. You need that supporting player from the midfield to help out on the wing, because if you've got a triangle, you can beat most presses.
Exactly. Well, I mean, but then that just goes to show as well, though, doesn't it? Like, we've just come up with we were talking about two separate things that worked very well for us last season.
And we've just set them both in this season for some reason.
Yeah, and I'm going to show people how easy it is to defend against crap attacking, right? So let's say Elise's over here, Thingy's over here. Let's just chuck them around somewhere so it looks relatively realistic. Let's just chuck them over here. They're probably over here somewhere. They're over here because they can't be asked to run up the pitch. Right. So in this, let's just say that they're in this position, right? So our natural thing to do would be in this position. Whoops. Sorry, they're a bit all over the place actually. Would be to pass to Hughes, right? Because we want to get it to Elise, right? So we're here now. Now they know that not Hughes, but whoever's here is going to pass it to Elise, right? Now Elise's here, so he's now got two defenders on one. So defending overloading works exactly the same as attacking overloading. If you've got two players defending one player, it's significantly easier. And in this position, you can see they know that Elise's got two options, and that is it. He's either going to try and make some space on his right foot, which doesn't exist, and then try to cross it in, which as we saw in the Brighton game, no, he's not very good at doing. So with that in mind, what's his next option? Okay, pass it to Hughes. And then you just end up in a cycle of that. Passes to Correa, and eventually this team will push out, Brentford will push out, and they'll win the ball because, we haven't got any other options. However, if Klein was over here, we've transformed that overload, that defensive overload, into now at least it's a 1v1. So if Hughes passes it to Elise, Klein's able to make that run. Okay, Klein's able to make that run. but at least it's a 1v1. Do you know what I mean? It's not 2v1 with the defenders able to see where your only other pass is.
Yeah, because if every man tracks the player from there, all Edouard has to do is come short a little bit, and then he's free.
Yeah. Well,
so
yeah,
you take the stress off the
exactly.
striker that way as well.
Exactly. I always say it, and I always say this with my five-a-side team, which I appreciate it's not the Premier League, it's just five-a-side, but the principles are the same, I think.
It's a Premier League in your eyes, Dan.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. We're only just worse, so, well, I reckon some of us could get into this Palace team at the moment, but I think, but the premise I'm talking about is that if you make a run, even if you don't get the ball, you're making space for someone else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're just standing there, that is a defender's dream. Like, just standing there doing nothing, that is a defender's dream. And that's what we just seem to be doing at the moment. Like, it's just frustrating. But with regards to Brentford, I think they'll go into a 4-3-3. The reason why I think that is and I'm going to caveat this and say they won't stay in this formation for the whole game. They will change it to the 3-5-2. I think they like the 3-5-2 when they want that more defensive solidity, and because we can't attack, I think they'll just start with a 4-3-3, and then if they score, or probably when they score, then they will revert. They'll bring off, and I've seen them do this. They'll bring off Visser, and they'll change, and they'll go into this 5, and Visser will come off for Rurslav or someone like that, and then they'll just shift over like this. So I think that is how it would pan out for them. Interestingly, it kind of made me sad a little bit, but I thought that the way they kind of played in this 4-3-3 was very similar to how we played last season. Not necessarily in terms of how they passed the ball per se, but the way that they help each other on the wings. So like, and De Silva is actually I'm going to do it for De Silva because I think De Silva's especially good at it. But like, if this has got the ball over here, say, De Silva is very good at making that run up here. And as we saw in the reverse fixture, we know Henry's also a very good player as well. But they're very good at using this box-to-box midfielder to support that run. And yeah, that's generally how I think it will pan out. But we shall see.
Definitely. As I alluded to, Dan told me a stat before we went live, which made me lose all confidence. I think you said that they've only lost one game at home all season, and that was against Arsenal, who were top of the league.
Yeah, and that's bearing in mind that they've also played at home Spurs, Liverpool, Man United, Brighton, Chelsea, and Arsenal, and they've not lost to any of them apart from Arsenal.
Yeah. It's going to be a long day for us because we can't seem to put results together even if we tried to. I know we got very lucky against Brighton, but I think that for how we play, we need to have the ball, and for the players that we have, we struggle to keep the ball. I know that Anderson's out, Zaha's out, our most key players probably, because Anderson's been one of our best players this season. And Zaha is always an outlet. He's always a threat. I think no matter, even when he's having a terrible time, he's always doubled up on, which leaves a bit more space for someone else in the team, which relieves pressure as well. So I think in that way, we've still got, like, it looks brighter looking ahead, but right now, it's going to be a big struggle to get through games like this because some Palace fans are looking at this thinking, we can get some points here. But honestly, we was talking about off stream. I would be so happy if we got a draw. If we got any point whatsoever here, it's a good point. Because Brentford away, it's never an easy game. We found that out last season.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, like, to be honest, of our fixtures going forwards, and I'm going forwards a little bit, but I actually think I think this is one of the least winnable ones that we've got. if I'm to be honest, just purely because of how good Brentford are at home. And it's not even like they've gotten lucky either. Like, the only teams that have actually created more than one goal, more than one XG against them is Everton, weirdly, Leeds, but both of those games were right at the beginning of the season, within game week 6. The only other teams were Tottenham, Liverpool, Man United didn't do it, Brighton, and Arsenal. So, you know, even creating stuff there is a very difficult task. So, yeah.
I think one thing that I'd also like to talk about when talking about Brentford is that they don't need the ball for a long time to make a chance. So, for example, with their 3-0 win against Southampton, I think they only had 40% possession of the ball, and they still battered them 3-0, and they still had better shooting stats, they had better shots on target, and they had less XG, even though Southampton had the ball more. Granted, it is Southampton, but if they've got 60% possession and they've got less expected goals than the team with 40% possession, clearly something's going wrong there. Same thing with the Arsenal game. 1-1. They only had 30% possession, but they still got their 9 shots, the 2 on targets. I think this game that case of XG against them doesn't really matter because it is the top side in the Premier League right now. But still, they do not need lots of possession to make chances.
No. I think their average this season is only 43%. But yeah, I think they're a very, very good counter-attacking team as well. The thing is, they can do a bit of both. Like, I've noticed this when you watch the beginning of their games, they tend to control it a little bit more, and then they kind of move to that, like, I don't want to say parking the bus, but that kind of like style as it goes on. And the thing is, they can do both. That's the scary thing, is that they can hold it in possession well, but they can also counter-attack very well.
I think one thing that contradicts that with the stats is that they've actually got one of the worst pass completion percentages of all teams in the league, which I think is pretty strange, seeing how they play football. But it's purely because of interceptions is why that number is so low, because they are always trying that risky pass. And the thing is with them is that they'll try it and try it and try it, but the one time it comes off, they're through on goal, and that's probably where the low amount of possession comes into play here. It's sort of like a much more direct Roy ball, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And I did. I mean, it wouldn't be a TACT-EAGLE stream if I didn't mention that I was on my spreadsheets earlier.
I'm gonna sim bin myself.
So the spreadsheets. I actually found out that Brentford are the most direct team in terms of progressive yards as a percentage of their total yards, both in passing and dribbling. So as a percentage, 43.4% of their dribbling and passing is progressive, which I think kind of goes with what we were saying about their counter-attacking abilities.
Do you know what ours is by any chance? Because we always pass backwards and sideways.
Ours is, so the thing is with these is that it does heavily favour. I guess it's a directness thing, so it makes sense. It heavily favours teams who defend a lot. So, for example, we're 8th in the league.
Okay, I thought it would be a lot worse than that.
But Bournemouth are 2nd, which is what I mean. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a good team. It just means that you are more direct and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, just hit some comments. Chairman says good evening.
Good evening.
Sean saying, Dan, I agree with you. I much rather the 4-3-3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that me and you are both in agreement here.
Yeah, definitely.
Chairman also says, don't forget we beat Chelsea when they were on a 12-game winning streak and we won against Man City. Anything's possible.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Anything's possible as long as it's against a bigger team. And I think that's always been the case with Palace. We always turn it on for a bigger team. But anyone around us will play it like it's any other match, which is why I probably hold even less confidence against Brentford than I would against Chelsea.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to be a bit positive, and I'm going to say I do think that we can scrape a draw, purely based on the fact that all the other games have been a draw.
Yeah.
I know there's literally no reasoning for that, but that's my positivity for the stream.
Yeah. Kevin Benson says, who's the best stats for being saved by VAR? I heard apparently without VAR, I think they said that Liverpool would be 17th or something like that. I don't know how true that is, but I've heard that that stat flying around a bit. Without VAR, I think Liverpool would be 17th or down there somewhere, because they've had a few penalties ruled against them and a few penalties that were given because of VAR that the ref didn't give.
Yeah. That's mad. I mean, for us, I can think the Newcastle one,
Brighton
and
one,
obviously Brighton's one. But then with that, where it depends where you stand on McAllister again. Should he have got sent off after 10 minutes? So it's a difficult one. I think you can definitively answer.
I think that all of our VAR luck has run out already because of that like Zaha's penalty at Forest when he missed it.
Yeah,
that was a VAR. That's why I think that we've had 3 or 4 decisions go for us this season, and honestly, I don't see us getting any more decisions like that. I think our luck's run out already. Yeah, we haven't capitalised on it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I mean, I'd like to think that there won't be any more VAR mess ups for the rest of the season, but let's be honest, I prefer not to speak.
Yeah, if you want to hear someone have a good rant about VAR and what happened during this week, definitely go and watch the Premier League review, because Nicky had a bit of a meltdown when talking about VAR in this week's Premier League review. It's a great watch, I have to say.
Love it. Do you want to play guess the stat, which I think is quite interesting?
Definitely. Sean thinks we'll win 1-0.
Go on, Sean.
All right, let's go. Let's see what happens, Dan.
Okay, so the answer will either be Palace or Brentford.
Okay,
so which team has the second? Wait, where's it gone? Which team has the second lowest non-penalty XG per 90 in the league?
Palace, surely.
Yeah, Palace. Which team?
Even penalty XG, we must be dreadful because we missed them all.
Oh yeah, we are still second. Yeah, but it counts as XG though, doesn't it? It just counts as missing. But who has the third least shots in the league per game?
I'm gonna say Brentford here because when looking at the stats, they're shooting and they're always on target. They don't shoot as much as the other team though.
You are correct. It is Brentford, and the reason why I wanted to guess it is because I kind of felt like that's quite an unusual stat, considering that we're talking about how good Brentford are and how well they've done. I think that's something that I think is very interesting.
Do you know about where our shooting stats are when it comes to that one specifically?
Oh, that one specifically, we're 5th bottom. So
we're not much better.
No. So we have 10.5. Interestingly, though, we actually only shoot 0.1 shot less per game this season than we did last season.
Okay.
Which I find very interesting, and there's a reason for that. It's not that we don't take shots. Well, I mean, we don't, but in comparison to like other teams and us, the reason the main issue I think is that we just don't create good enough chances. That's the problem. So there's another stat that I like to use, which is non-penalty XG per shot. So it's just the average XG that a team has per shot, basically. Guess which team is top of that?
Brentford.
Brentford. Guess which team is bottom of that?
That's got to be Palace.
It's Palace. Now, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, this one, I think, because it just demonstrates how. Because, for example, Brentford have a average non-penalty XG of 1.26. We have one of 0.86. So that's an entire zero. That's an entire 0.4, just because they make better chances. So for me, that's our biggest issue. It's not that we don't take shots or anything. It's that we don't create the right chances. And I think it's got a bit of a double-edged kind of thing, because to be fair, we're actually not. If you take how much non-penalty XG we've created so far and the amount of goals we scored, we're actually the same. Like, we're actually not worse off, which indicates that our finishing, therefore, is not actually that bad. It's actually is literally what it should be.
Yeah, but I reckon that's because we literally try and walk it into the net at any point we can. So the only shots we do take really is a scoring shot, really, isn't it?
No, it's the other way around. So that's what Brentford do. And it makes sense as well, because so Brentford on average take shots from the shortest distance of any team in the Premier League. They take on average a shot from 15.5 yards.
Damn.
Ours is 18 on average.
Okay.
So our problem is that, like, I think what we're trying to do is kind of similar to last season in a way, in that we do want to try and work it into the box. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the problem is that we just can't do it anymore. So then we get frustrated and take shots. We take shots from further out this season than we did last season. So I think that's the problem. And going back to the overshooting or undershooting the XG, Brentford are currently overshooting their XG. But I think that's one, they've got players that kind of do that anyway. And two, I think that's because they create better quality chances. So therefore, if they're making more chances out of a better quality, well, they're going to overshoot, because they're probably going to score those goals. Whereas if we keep taking shots on average from 18 yards out all the time, then that's not gonna work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I look at it anyway.
Definitely. Have you got any more of these stats, or?
No, that was it. That was the ones I was kind of going to pick out.
All right. So right now I'm currently drawing or setting up the last thing I wanted to speak about, but I wanted to know if you was going to bring it up as well. That Brentford are great when they're defending, they're great when they're attacking, they're great when they're on the ball, they're great off the ball, but a very underrated part of their game is their set pieces. Currently, I'm setting up a little set piece diagram thing. Do you want to take me through something about set pieces while I set this up?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool.
Well, I've got some stats for it. So Brentford this season, defensively, they're actually quite weak, apparently, by the looks of it.
Okay.
They've conceded 7 goals from corners this season, and we've conceded 4. They've scored 5, and we've scored 4, apparently.
That's surprising.
Yeah, I thought that too, because last season they were one of the best, both and away. So yeah, no, I agree. It surprised me a lot this season to see that theirs aren't quite as good as it was last season.
All right. Well, this has taken a long time to set up, but basically, I'll put all of Brentford. I know the triangles and stuff are all different shapes and colours and stuff, but it'll just have to do. You make them all the same size-ish.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I'll sort these guys. Imagine they're all in the mix. Oh, there's actually no, that works out pretty well actually, because they'll sort of be like this, won't they? So they'll get a free kick, and it will be what Palace will do is they'll think that they'll whip a nice little ball in here, and that's what we'd always think will happen. Ball going in here, and when we will come into it, Tony will come into it. We'll all shift across as one, and jobs are good in. But they don't do that. They always have something else planned. I have seen many times where Tony would literally stand offside before they even kick the ball. He'll literally just stand on the penalty spot. But what will happen is, and when we're here, we'll make a run. He'll make a darting run down here. Let me get the ball. The ball will come in, and then he'll whip a ball in. So now, with Tony standing offside already, he's now onside, free in the box, through on goal. Also, another one which they do like, Norgard stands here very strategically. He'll stand in front of the wall, either to the side of it or right in front of the opposition player, and they'll sort of play either a 1-2. He'll play the ball in, he'll knock the ball out, and Yana will come and whip that ball in. That way. Another way is Norgard will stand here. The ball will go to him. Let me get the ball again. And then he'll just cross it in again. And bear in mind, Tony's still onside and he's not moving. But everyone else here has already moved past Tony by this time. So even though it's a harder shot to score, he's still on the penalty spot without anyone around him with a free shot on goal. So I think how they set up for free kicks, specifically offensive ones, you've got to have a man just to follow Tony around, just no matter what he's doing, because for a big guy, he's just a great striker that can always find space no matter what happens.
Definitely. And the thing is, he's, like you say, he's big, he's strong, he finds space, and he's got a great finish.
Exactly.
He's just generally a nuisance to really do anything with. Like he is a defender's worst nightmare. There was one thing. So I've just seen Neil's comment about where is Brentford's weakness? How are we going to score? Well, I mean, the honest answer is we probably won't. But I think there is a way, because I like to be positive.
I think my way is much simpler and probably requires no explanation whatsoever.
Yeah.
They do make all 5 subs every game, no matter what, because of the high press that they do. Their players do get tired.
True.
I think the way to score is hit them just before the subs start happening, because they are going to start tiring. They press like 100 miles an hour from when the gate opens. So around about that 55, 60-minute mark, no matter how fit you are, the stamina is going to start going. The intensity of the tackle is going to start going. The intensity of the press is going to start going. That's when we should really start to try and hurt them.
Yeah, I think that makes complete sense, to be honest.
Because in the games where Brentford have conceded, 66 minutes, 52 minutes, 59 minutes, 61 minutes. So it's all about that time where you start to get tired.
That is very interesting, actually, that they concede so many of those goals at that time. That is interesting. I'm guessing they make those subs pretty quick after that.
Let me double check, because I don't actually know. So, for example, in the Arsenal game, Trossard scored 66 minutes. Yeah, Trossard scored 66 minutes. They made a triple sub at 71 minutes.
Well, there you go then. That's I think that's pretty indicative, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think as well, I do think that the difficulty with Brentford as well is that whilst they do have a general game plan, I think they're the kind of team that has also got, like, they're the kind of team that would do their homework on every other club in the league.
Of course.
And they'll know our weaknesses and they'll exploit that. So whilst they might do one thing in one game, they might not necessarily do it in another because they know it might not necessarily work. And I think that's another string that Brentford have. But I do think there is a weakness, because I think if you press right, you have to do that press well, or you leave a lot of space behind. Now, we could exploit that, because generally what I notice is that if we get the ball wide, what tends to happen is that they all come in like this. They'll all be here in this kind of area. So, like, Nordgaard will be there, like, trying to cut that off. This will be trying to cut Klein off, blah, 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 and so on. Now, this is going to be very difficult to do. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's something that could be done. But because they're all over here, right, it means that there's a lot of space over here. It means there's so much space on this side of the pitch. And I saw this a couple times in the games that I watched back, where if you're able just to say, if Decore just makes that run, I know he's the defensive mid, but if he makes that run into there, at least he's able to play that ball.
You've left 4 men behind instantly.
Yeah, that's 4 people out the game. Do you know what I mean? Edouard can make a run like this run to try and take me away. Lokonga can try and make a run. You can make a run. Well, yeah, I know. Wishful thinking, I know, but
sorry, that was really it caught me off guard.
But I mean, yeah, it's wishful thinking, isn't it? At least I didn't say Mateta was going to make a run. So,
oh no, I was thinking he's going to take me away. That's what I'm laughing at.
Oh,
are you getting now?
I've only just gotten it.
I think this as well. It would also. I know he's injured right now and he's coming back, but this is a perfect game for Anderson.
Oh mate, honestly, I feel like we say it every week, because that guy is like, that long pass is such a good tool. It's such a good tool.
It's a defensive and an offensive tool. That's the thing.
Exactly. And to be honest, like we say this, but like Brentford literally used that tactic with RHEA. RHEA is very good at pinging those long passes.
Of course.
So when he gets the ball, Eddie needs to be standing there being like, oi, mate, I'm only going to move once the ref tells me to move. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I mean. If you do have a press, if it is broken, I'm not saying you're in deep trouble, because obviously you're not. Like, there's still like Jensen there and so on. But you start getting those one-on-ones, or if we work it well, or if they actually want to be adventurous for once, 2-on-1s. Like, if you, for example, Jensen comes in close to Corey, Lokonga gets the ball here. If Mitchell's over here with Ayew, all Ayew's got to do is run over here, take Hickey with him, and Mitchell's in loads of space. Or it means that Pinnock gets split and then the defenders get split. It's what I mean. You just need to commit players forward. And yeah, the only last thing I did want to say, actually, which I thought was quite interesting, was about Brentford, and this isn't a tactical thing, but I thought it was very interesting. Of these players who I've got on the pitch, how many of them do you think were bought by Brentford since they've been in the Premier League?
How many?
Yeah, of that starting 11 that I've got there, yeah. Because I think it just goes to show how.
Well, I want to say one. I think it's only Ben Mee.
No, it is more than one, to be fair.
Or I don't wait. I think they came up with Henry. Pinnock, I'm not sure. Hickey, no. He 1, 2. I want to say 3.
Yeah, you're correct. It is 3.
Is it De Silva, Hickey, and me?
Close. It's me, Hickey, and Wissa. Wissa, sorry.
Okay.
Wissa came in 2021, I think. So he might not even necessarily have been. So I'm not. I didn't check the actual date, so he might not be. And also, I think it's interesting that Ben Mee's only really playing because Pontus Jansson's actually injured.
Yeah.
So if you actually took him out, Pontus Jansson joined them in the championship. So it would actually only for certain be one, Hickey, which I find very interesting, and I think it just demonstrates
how good of a coach Franks is.
How good of a coach Franks is, how good the tactics are,
and how Moneyball works. This is a simple way of showing it. Moneyball works. If they started Moneyball in the championship, and it's still working now with all their championship players.
Well, yeah, exactly, and I think it demonstrates that Brentford are. I know it sounds really cliche, but they're a team. Do you know what I mean? Like they're more than the sum of. Wait, I can't remember the phrase. They're more than the sum of their parts. Is that right?
I've never heard of that saying before. Can't lie to you.
It's something to do with basically as a team, they're better than the actual individual players. Like they've obviously got good players, but like they're not. No one's a particularly standout mad player.
Yeah.
They're all just very good, very consistent, good tactics work together.
Yeah. Let's round out with some comments. UK Pat saying 4-3-3 due to 2 defensive mids, Decore and Lokonga. We spoke about it a little bit earlier. We'd rather there just be 1 defensive mid and then 2 8s. Go back to what we played last season. It worked better attack when we were going forwards. I know we leaked a few more goals last season, but we actually made chances when going forwards, and also having the 2 8s definitely helps us attacking wise. Is it true that Wolf's in training? I don't think he's in, I don't think he's in full contact training. I know there's a video going around of him and Anderson doing like their runs and their individual training. I don't think they're doing contact training yet. Kevin Benson said, let's hope the keeper does a howler and Tompkins for the win. Did you get the email that Palace sent out for their new clothing stuff that they done today?
No.
Oh, it's incredible. They had a they got a model which looks like Sanchez modeling the Palace stuff, and then they said, "Look at this new drop at Selhurst," talking about the new clothing drop.
Oh yeah,
it's proper quality. I have to say, I'll
have a look at that.
I'll show you it. I'll show you it after.
Yeah, that's good. So I was waiting after Brighton's admin last season. There's no way they could get away with it. Like,
let me try and find it on the stream because I think it'll be funny to show. Can you try and know what that is? Because I've got no clue.
Nah, no idea. I don't know.
News? Is it news? Oh, I can't find it now. I know it's on Twitter somewhere. Who's got it? Yeah, if you can just on the comment section, you can just click on all the comments and it'll show them on the screen. Can you go through these quick?
If PV starts the pro twister player at striker, 1 leg in the therapy room for me. Yeah. What do you mean Mateta, Pat? Because I agree.
It's got to be Mateta, right?
If he starts again, Matt, I'm guessing, Pat, are you referring to when he did all those mad step overs and like he looks like the kind of guy who just should never ever be able to do step overs, and yet he did step overs. Yeah, I can't. I don't think he's ever been good enough. I just think he went through a good patch of form with us, and also it helps that he scored against Brighton, Millwall. I think he scored against Arsenal as well. You know, he scored some important goals, but yeah, no, he's rubbish. Oh yeah, you are referring to Mateta. Yeah, he's rubbish, man. Like I was when those rumors of him going for like 20 odd mil or something like that to Turkey, I would have been all over that. I would have just gotten rid. You know, I don't even care if we didn't have a backup. Like I would actually just rather have gotten rid. And you know what? It really infuriates me as well. Like it really infuriates me because I love that chant. I love that Mateta chant.
Oh, it's good, isn't it?
Like that's why it infuriates me so much because he's crap.
But the song's so good.
Exactly. Neil's asking for the older members, what's Moneyball? Does it involve vertical passing? It doesn't involve vertical passing. Moneyball, it comes from the film about, I think it's about a baseball team where I don't know what happens in the film, but the premise that Brentford do is that they were one of the first teams to use statistics and that kind of analysis in football. And the guy who owns the club is a professional. Where he used to work in the betting industry, and he was a professional, I guess, gambler at some point. And that's kind of influenced this kind of Moneyball approach. So what they'll do is that they'll use this data to find these players for relatively cheap. Players who are putting out decent numbers, but might be going slightly under the radar because they might not be playing for a good team, or maybe there's like a reason why they're not scoring goals or something like that. If they're putting out the numbers, then they'll find them, bring them to Brentford. But then it doesn't just stop there. They'll flip it the other way around too. So, like, for example, they sold, I can't remember what his name was. I think it was Hogan. They sold him to Villa for like, I can't remember how much he was, but I remember it being obscene considering they're both championship clubs. But I think it was like 20 odd mil, or maybe let's say 15 mil, because maybe it wasn't 20. Say 15 mil. They sold him for so much money and this was on the basis that he had recently scored loads and loads of goals, so Villa were interested in him. But what Brentford's statistics were telling the club were that, yes, he was scoring a lot of goals, but he was getting incredibly lucky with the shots he was scoring. And so they knew that, and they knew that he was never going to keep up. Like, this form was not sustainable, for the rest of his career. So then he moved on to Villa, and lo and behold, he stopped scoring. So they obviously used that money to then reinvest it into other players. They don't necessarily have to be young players. Obviously, like with like Ben Mee's towards the end of his career. And there's also lots of other different things as well. So like they were one of the first teams to get I think they're one of the only teams to get a throwing coach. They were one of the first teams to get a set piece coach. So that's why they were so good at set pieces last season, because they actually had a coach designated for these things. They're literally like when we had the Great Britain cycling, and you had the whole marginal the 1% marginal gains. Like if you increase lots of little things by 1%, if you make them better by 1%, the overall picture will be that you're like 50% better off or whatever. It's the same with Brentford. It's the same principle. They just try to make so many different things that little bit better, and then the overall outcome is that you'll end up with.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I always thought about was, you said that they got a throwing coach. One thing that I never understood was why don't teams get a sprinting coach, make it so everyone can run faster and more efficiently, so they can save energy and actually move a bit faster.
Well, this is the thing, and I think I could be totally wrong here, but I'm fairly sure they have that in like the NFL, like in the US sports. I'm fairly sure they have that.
Yeah, they do.
So I think it's one of those things that football's just quite behind the times. Like I was saying, Brentford were one of the first teams to use statistics, and this was like within the last 6 years, when that data has been available from Opta since like 2004. So I think football's a very conservative sport in that sense. It's not very progressive, I don't think.
Mm. Well, I found it finally.
Go on, Em.
So, as I said, they've got another drop at Selhurst Park.
Love it.
Modelling the new thing, and then the new cover image of the new stuff that they're going to be selling is this.
Great. Love it.
Which I think is great advertising, if you ask me.
Well, it's got to be done, isn't it? Like,
well, their admin's always running their mouth, so why not give them a little bit of their own medicine?
Well, yeah, exactly. They need it.
100%. Let's fly through. Mateta's the best Twister player of all time. Mateta with a swap with Bowie.
Well,
I doubt that would ever happen. But
yeah,
if it was on the cards, I'm sure that we would have taken it 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And apparently KDB's made it 1-0.
Blimey, that's an important game, isn't it?
And Chairman's thanking you for explaining Moneyball so well, because I would never be able to break it down that easily for you.
That's
but
right. No worries.
I think that wraps up TACT-EAGLE against Brentford. Anything else, Dan?
No, just want to say up the Palace.
Up the Palace. Eagle!